Hi, I'm Jamie Nicholson. I'm a sophomore at WashU, and you are listening to a coming of age movie.
What's up, everyone? I'm Kira.
And I'm Julia. Welcome or welcome back to a coming of age movie.
This week, we're super excited to be joined by Jamie Nicholson, a student at Washington University in St. Louis, to help us learn more about the school.
Jamie, thank you so much for coming on.
Of course, thank you guys for having me.
How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. It's the summer, so a little bit busy, but it's been nice.
Yeah, for sure. So let's just jump right into it. Very basic question. What is your major or what is your intended plan of study and all that?
Yeah, so I'm in the business school at WashU, Olin, and I'm planning to major in economics and strategy and probably minor in statistics.
And it's totally cool if you have absolutely no idea, but do you have any perspective of what your current plans are going to be after college?
Yeah, so I'm still a little bit open-minded, but definitely a business career, and I'm looking into consulting, but maybe some type of like strategy or marketing role would be interesting too.
Very cool. So are you an in-state or out-of-state student?
I'm out of state. I'm from Illinois, so not too far, but
And could you describe WashU to someone who has never heard of it before?
yeah. So WashU is a mid-sized school. We have about 7,000 students, so there's definitely like a campus community, but it's big enough that you can meet new people. And our most popular fields of study are probably pre-med and business, but we also have an art school, engineering, and just a community of students who are all super passionate about learning.
And is there a certain stereotype that you think holds true to your school?
I would definitely say being nerdy. There's a lot of students there that are just like super smart and like super into their fields of study. But I think it's a good thing because then it's like no one's intimidating to talk to. Like everyone's pretty down to earth.
And was WashU your top choice?
So WashU was always in like my top three since freshman year, but I didn't really have like a top choice school.
Okay. And why did you end up choosing WashU over the others?
Yeah, so I applied early decision too. So there was kind of like that binding part of the agreement, but it also worked out because they gave some good financial aid. And then it was also the perfect distance from home. It's about 5 hours. So close enough that I can like visit family during breaks, but not so far that it's like intimidating.
And why do you think most people who attend WashU choose to go there?
I think mostly for the academics, like it's a pretty well regarded school academically with a lot of strong programs. And it also kind of has that reputation of being a laid back school that, the kids there aren't super like competitive. So I think, yeah, the community and academics.
I feel like a lot of people compare it to like, since it's uh a very good school academically, people kind of will compare it to the Ivies as they do with every school. So do you think it's kind of like up there academically with the Ivies, but a little bit more relaxed? Like not everyone is very cutthroat competitive?
I'm not too sure. I don't have experience with the Ivies, but
Oh, true.
I would say the the academics are definitely like you'll learn a lot in your classes. And I would say it's like a laid back community where everyone's like super focused, but it's more like they're focused on like their own things and not really like comparing to how everyone else is doing.
That's good. And moving away from academics, what is the social scene at your school like? Like, is Greek life big, or people more, quiet in their own groups? What's that like?
So there's a giant like abolish Greek life movement on campus. So it's not huge, but there are still a handful of like frats and sororities that have like a pretty big presence on campus. And there's definitely people that like go out to frat parties. I would say the social scene is pretty varied. Like there are people that will go out to like clubs and bars and frat parties, but then there's also clubs that host parties and social events and like a lot of apartment parties and just hang out in dorms.
And so during like your first week of college, how did you make friends? Like what was like the overall like could you walk us through like your first week of college and like how everything worked with like getting in and like meeting people and all of that?
Yeah, so the first week of college is honestly a time like unlike anything you've like ever experienced and probably will ever experience again because you go on campus, and I just remember like my parents leaving, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I literally don't know anyone here. But it was exciting because you can literally just go up to like anyone, like start talking to some random person in the dining hall and be like, hey, what's up? And then just hang out with them for like the rest of the day. So I think the first week of college is the easiest time. You can just go up and talk to anyone. And a lot of times, like those are kind of like one-off friendships. Like you'll like say hi to each other on campus, but not really like hang out as much during the school year. So I think my closest friend group I made throughout the year was like just people I met that lived on the same dorm floor as me. And then just like through mutual friends.
And do you think WashU did anything to help you make friends? Like, were there any events where you could meet people in your major, or was there anything they could have done better that you think would have helped you feel more at home?
So the whole first week is an orientation week before classes start. And you're put in these small groups of like 15 other students to be able to meet each other. And I'm actually an orientation leader this year, so I can help with some first years adjusting. And there also are like major specific events. Like I know there's some business school events with like free ice cream and everything. So maybe, I guess I wish like if they organize more off-campus outings or like social events during orientation week, because there were opportunities to like go to downtown St. Louis and go to the Arch, or like go to the aquarium and like the Forest Park Zoo. But I think like a Cardinals game or some other events would have been fun.
During that first week, or oh sorry, like during when you first were getting settled into WashU, did you feel like you were at a disadvantage because you were an out-of-state student at all?
I don't think so. I mean, since it's a private school, like a lot of students are not from Missouri. The most common I would say is like from New York and California, and also the Chicago suburbs. So I thought it was cool to meet people from all over the country.
So, how many people are in your biggest and smallest classes? Like, do you have any huge lectures, or do you have any classes with like, well, did you? Because it's summer now.
Mhm.
Like any like tiny classes or any huge classes that really stood out to you?
My biggest class last year was calculus too. So that was just a giant lecture with like 150 students. And like it's kind of that thing where like you don't really talk to the teacher. And then my smallest class this year was actually 9 students. It was all just like a discussion based class. And most of the business classes are like lecture style with like 50 students, but I still think that's small enough to be able to get like a good level of interaction. But yeah, most of the classes are smaller than I expected.
And what are some of your favorite and least favorite classes that you've taken so far?
Yeah, my favorite class was probably, we had an intro to management class, and then we also had called Management 100. And we also had intro to microeconomics called MEC 290. And I really liked both of those, which I guess is a good sign since I'm majoring in them. Um, my least favorite class was, I took this philosophy class, which because I was thinking of like minoring in philosophy, but then that class I was like, maybe that's like not the minor for me. So I guess that was a good decision. And also I took intro to computer science, which was like definitely a high workload, but I'm glad I took it.
So, how many hours of homework or studying would you say you did on an average day?
An average day was probably like 5 to 6 hours of homework and studying, which is, maybe I'm just not the best at time management, but yeah, it'll fill your time.
Did you feel like that was different from high school? Like, was it a really big jump, or was it kind of similar to what you're already doing?
Yeah, I would say I just went to like a normal like public high school. So there was still like some weeks like during finals and like AP tests where you had to study a lot. But college, the biggest difference is that there's not really like a time you can like switch off, and you kind of have to like prioritize like time if you want to like exercise or like relax. And so like yeah, a lot of times you'll be up till like 11 or like 12 doing homework, and which in high school I like never was, but it wasn't like too overwhelming, I guess, because it's all like the work is more interesting than high school.
I feel like everyone's saying like the jump from high school to college is like the work is like so much more, but everyone seems to like be able to do it somehow, and like it just sounds so crazy overwhelming to me. Like I have no idea how you guys do it.
Mhm.
I
So,
think,
oh yeah,
oh,
go
sorry.
ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, I feel like in high school, I had no clue what to expect for college classes. And like once you get there, like it is a lot more work, but it's all like more interesting and like applicable. And So I think you get to learn how to balance it.
Yeah, you're more interested in it, so it's easier to do. So, when do you like declare a major at WashU? And before you do that, what are your classes like?
Yeah, so I think you, for the business school at least, you can't even declare a major till second semester sophomore year. So you have a lot of room to explore like within different business fields to figure out what you want to do. But there's also, we have like a prereqs, or not prereqs, like distribution requirements that are pretty open-ended. So I think we're actually required to take 40% of our classes outside the business school. So it's a good time to be able to like explore and be able to take like some like humanities or like science classes and stuff.
Yeah, because also like everything crosses over into different fields. It's like, you know, it'll be useful for your career, I'm sure. And how would you describe the relationships between students and professors?
Yeah, I would say like all the professors are super nice, and that's another thing that's different from high school. Is I mean, my high school teachers were nice, but college professors, it's like there's such a big like barrier to entry. Like you have to get like go through like a PhD, and so all your professors are just like super like accomplished and interesting people. And one thing that I like doing is just going to office hours, not even like with questions about the class, but just to like get to know my professors and kind of like what that like academia career path is. Like one time I went to my history teacher's office hours and she made me like a cup of tea and she had like this coaster made out of yak fur and it was just like really fun.
So do you feel WashU students help each other with the work, or is it a very competitive environment?
Yeah, so I would say like in the business school at least there's a lot of group projects. So they're like actively encouraging you to like work with other students and even on homework assignments, they're like, yeah, you should like check your answers with one another. I'm not sure how it is with other fields. Like I'm sure like pre-med is probably more competitive since everything there's like on a curve. But yeah, I would say it's like overall like helpful.
And are you involved in any clubs or sports or anything on campus?
Yeah, so I do run club, which is kind of just like this low key like extracurricular running club where we just like meet a few times a week and you can run. It's open to like beginners or people that are like incredibly fast. So that's been a great way to just have fun and meet people. I've also been involved in the student newspaper called Student Life, doing some sports photography, which has been fun. And then I have an on-campus job editing videos, like online course videos for the business school. And then I'm interning at a startup that was founded by a WashU MBA student.
So do you think is there like a good like alumni network kind of with the students? Like you're saying, like you're working for a WashU student. Like, is there a good kind of like sense of family?
Yeah, I would say I haven't really had like a that much interaction with like alumni. I'm sure that'll happen like in a few years when I'm trying to network for careers and everything. But yeah, I would say like if there's anyone that you're interested in like on campus, I've done this like if there's an upperclassman that I think is doing something super cool, I'll just send them an email and be like, hey, like want to talk and we'll just talk for maybe like an hour and just get to learn like all these cool new things. So I'd say people are definitely open to sharing their experiences.
That's awesome.
And are the sports and arts like what is the sports and arts culture like on campus?
So the sports, we're a D3 school and we are like one of the better D3 schools, but it's still Division 3. So not that many people go to the games. I've gone to like some track meets and basketball and soccer, but again, most of that was just for like sports photography for the newspaper. I would say the arts culture probably is more prevalent than sports. There's probably every weekend you could find like a club doing like a stand-up comedy or an improv show or an a cappella group or a dance group. So yeah, there's definitely no shortage of arts opportunities and sports.
And what are some traditions at your school that people might not know about if they don't go there? Not any like serious ones, of course, but anything that they won't know.
I think Wild is a tradition. So it's a music festival that's hosted every semester. But we didn't have one in the fall because of COVID, but we had one this past spring. And I swear it was like the most fun day of all of spring semester for me. We had Zed come in and perform, and there's a different like performer each semester that are pretty well known. And it's just like there's like thousands of kids that all like cram into the quad, and just it's this great sense of community where everyone's just together.
That's
Are there
awesome.
a lot of opportunities like that at WashU where there's like those like little concerts that they have?
Yeah, so the concert is only like once every semester. I'm trying to think of other traditions. I don't know if I've like been there long enough to
Or
think
even
of.
any like little things like, oh, I know at some schools it's like, oh, like, touch this statue during finals week or something, or like everyone goes to this restaurant to study or anything like that.
Mhm. Yeah, we do have a seal under Brookings, which it's like you can't step on it or else you won't graduate in 4 years.
Oh yeah,
And then also every semester during finals week, there's a free midnight breakfast. So I think it starts at like 9 p.m. and goes till like 1 a.m. And you can just line up and get like a ton of free breakfast food, and they give you so much. But the line for it is always like stretching like so long. Like you have to be prepared to wait like an hour, hour and a half, but it's definitely worth it.
for the free breakfast.
And what's the housing situation like on campus?
Yeah, so there's the South 40, which is it's called that because it's like 40 acres just of like residential buildings. And it's mostly freshmen there in the dorms, and you can either have a double dorm where you have like a direct roommate, and then or a single where you're with like four other people, each their own room, and then you share like a living room and a bathroom. And I'm pretty sure every freshman is required to live on campus. And then you'll see some sophomores like starting to move off campus, but I think there's still a good amount of sophomores that will live in dorms. And I'm living in a dorm this upcoming year also, just for like convenience and safety and everything.
It's interesting that you said that because I was gonna ask if like the off-campus housing is like, good, or if there are some issues with it that you know about.
Yeah, I haven't looked into it too much. I think there's university owned off-campus housing that's pretty extensive. So I think I've heard good things about those ones. Um, yeah, I think it's just like normal apartment
Yeah.
stuff though.
Do you
Cool.
know, are they close by to the school? Like, is it like a 5-minute drive or something? Or is it like a
Yeah, most of the off-campus housing is like near like the Del Mar Loop, which is kind of this like downtown area. It's like half a mile north of campus. So they are all pretty close.
In your opinion, I don't know if this will be an easy or hard question. What is a con of WashU?
Yeah, I would say a con is it's a very like high pressure environment, which kind of caught me off guard. Like I know I said everyone is collaborative, but it's kind of like people are like putting pressure on themselves and seeing people around them like constantly like doing these like clubs and these internships. And so it kind of makes you feel like you should be doing these certain things just because everyone else is doing them. But I think it's important to kind of like ground yourself and like remember who you are and like pursue things that are related to your own interests and kind of like step back from all of that.
And are there good mental health resources if you're like feeling overwhelmed or stressed about anything? Because college is stressful.
Yeah, we do have some mental health resources on campus. There's an app that we all have a free prescription to called BetterHelp that I think it's just like kind of like an on-demand therapist. So you can like FaceTime someone if you're feeling down. And we also have on-campus counselors. And there's actually a student group called Uncle Joe's that's open every night from I think like 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. that you can go into and talk if you need to get something off your mind.
so switching up a little bit, can you describe the surrounding area around WashU and how you feel about it?
The surrounding area around WashU is pretty suburban, which I kind of like because there's all these like really nice houses and like giant like tree-lined streets, which are really nice to go on like running or walking through. And there's also the St. Louis food scene. Like all the restaurants are a lot better than I thought. Like I was kind of surprised, and it's all pretty affordable food as well. And then right across the street from campus, we have Forest Park, which is it's like 2.5 times bigger than Central Park or something. There's like a free zoo, free art museum, free history museum, and tons of running trails, which was Forest Park was honestly like a big selling point of WashU because in high school I could just picture myself like getting up and like going on bike rides through there, going running. So that's been great.
And it's interesting because, you know, it's Washington University in St. Louis, but it kind of sounds like it's not right in St. Louis. Is it like,
Yeah, we're like 7 miles west of downtown. And we do like every WashU student gets a free public transport pass. We can go on like buses and the subway like as many times as we want for free, which is like once you get the hang of it, you can do a lot with the public transport.
and do you like going to the city?
Yeah, I think my favorite like downtown St. Louis activity was going to Cardinals games. Like the school would give out free Cardinals tickets like once or twice a semester. So I would always go there with some friends. And then run club, every semester they have a tradition that's an arch run. So you like maybe a group of like 20 kids will run like 7.5 miles to the arch and then, get like breakfast or something.
It's cool. So, do you think a certain part of your application to WashU was stronger than the rest and might have helped you get in? Or do you think it was pretty even?
I think WashU is one of the few schools that has a video profile, and I don't know if maybe more colleges will adopt that in the future, but there's an optional part of the application where you could submit a 90-second video. So I spent probably like 12 hours making this video just because I thought it was fun. It was basically like a vlog of me going to downtown Chicago just to get like my favorite breakfast sandwich and then just kind of like telling stuff about myself and having a good time with it.
That's
Were there
very
any
interesting.
requirements? Sorry, were there any requirements for the video? Like, was there like a certain? I know you said 90 seconds. So there was like a certain topic they wanted you guys to cover in the video, or was it kind of like a complete artistic free range with it?
I think there was a prompt that was like, tell us about yourself or like something that's important to you, but I think you can pretty much like do whatever you want.
Mhm.
Like, I don't think it's as strict.
And do you have any advice for anybody who's currently applying to WashU or wants to in the future?
Yeah, I would say like really think about like what makes you unique and what you can contribute to the campus community and then do some research about the school. Like I think if you're like watching podcasts like this, you're probably in a good spot because you can know things that you won't just see like on the stock photos on the website.
And I don't know if you kind of dealt with this, but do you know how WashU handles like AP credits? Like if you were able to get out of classes, if you got good scores on AP tests or anything like that?
I'm not too experienced because I did have like a handful of AP test scores that I like technically like paid like $15 to send to the school. But I don't think it really like it can get you out of like prereq. So like I could take like a higher level psych class and like without taking intro to psych at WashU because of the AP psych test. And like I could take like calculus 2 instead of calculus 1, but I don't think it is that effective in like getting you out of classes.
Okay. And this is kind of a weird question, but I feel like a lot of schools will have like big Instagram pages or Facebook groups that are like obviously they have like the main ones like oh, WashU, but are there any big accounts that you think prospective students could look at to get an idea of kind of like the culture at the school? Like a lot of schools have like meme pages or like oh, aesthetic pictures of the school or like anything that you think kind of shows the community.
Yeah, there's a lot of like WashU fan accounts, or not, I don't know if that's the right word, but just like different funny accounts students have. There's one called WashU Missed Connections, which is people just like posting cool people they've seen across campus and like describing them, and it's kind of funny just to read through that. We also have a few accounts for like pets on campus. Like there's one called WashU Dog, and then probably like WashU Cat. Like we have two campus cats, Socks and Hank, that will kind of just be walking around. You can go down and pet them, which is super fun. Like if you have pets at home that you're missing at school. And there's one called like WashU.aesthetic, I think, that posts pretty pictures that different students send in.
That's nice. And lastly, is there anything else that you think prospective students should know before choosing whether or not to go to WashU?
All right, that's a good question. I would say like definitely look into like the extracurricular opportunities in like whichever school you end up deciding to attend, because I think like most colleges you can like accomplish what you want out of them even like especially with the internet makes things a lot more accessible. So I think it comes down to kind of like geography, like if you want to be like close or far from home or near like a certain city, and like what type of campus community and feeling you want.
Awesome. Well, Jamie, thanks so much for coming on and teaching us about WashU.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me on. It was fun.
Of course. If anyone wants to follow you online, where can they do that?
So I have a WashU YouTube channel, or not like a WashU YouTube channel, but I posted some vlogs on there. This is just called Jamie Nicholson, my name. And then you can also reach out to me on Instagram, Jamie NIC12, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
And to anybody at home who wants to follow us on social media, our Instagram and TikTok is at acoam.podcast, and our Twitter is at acoam_podcast. You can follow us there to keep up and hear more about awesome guests like Jamie.
And as always, thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next week on a coming of age movie.